morning, everybody. Long time no see. Sunday night, August 23rd, 2020. I am back once again. Yeah, I'm stinky. Anybody that tuned in earlier today, yes, I'm still wearing the same clothes. This is my third podcast today. If you did not get a chance to check them out, did an NXT TakeOver 30 pay-per-view recap. Did a recap of AEW Dynamite from Saturday night. And right here, you have your SummerSlam pay-per-view recap. 2 weeks ago, Don Tony Show, we were talking about how Roman Reigns should be back soon. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and try to be a goof and, claim I told you so. I had no idea. We didn't see it coming. Roman Reigns returns. Now, big shout out to everybody, by the way, especially those live. Shout out to our chatters and super chatters. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in as always. And got some big announcements coming up, by the way. But I tell you, doing 3 podcasts. It's not just 3 podcasts today, but the first one was at like 3 o'clock. We finished 5 minutes before 4:30, and at 4:30 we did the second one, and that one was done 5 minutes before the pre-show for WWE SummerSlam. So it has been nonstop all day long, but hey, you enjoy what I do, I'll keep banging them out for you. So, and yeah, if you like the broadcast, throw a like. If you don't like it, throw a dislike. Just be involved, be active. Shout out to JF. Doesn't wake up early in the morning, but he's waking up early for this stanky Italian. How did you like that roll-up out of nowhere from Drew McIntyre? Look, I said for a month Drew McIntyre was retaining, but I was convinced for the entire month when they made such a big deal about the RKO out of nowhere. I mean, look, we're not insiders. We're all in the same boat here. But how many of you out there agree with me when I say that for some reason it feels like Randy Orton did not want to take the Claymore? Because doesn't it make sense? Everything about Drew McIntyre is the Claymore kick. And how is it, just getting hit with one out of nowhere, you didn't see it coming. So what's so wrong with Raw and having him go, Randy, the Claymore, you didn't see it coming? I don't know. I just, that ending of that match just really was like, really? You didn't see it coming should be really cool things. And look, I'm not going to lie. Roman Reigns closing out the show, beating the crap out of everybody, kind of being that kind of heelish, I think is awesome. One thing that I really did not like tonight, I'm sorry if anybody out there, if you think I'm nitpicking. Before I do that, Espinosa, big shout out to him. Big shout out to you, my friend. He wanted to shout out Stefano and Jessica. First time listening. Much love. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the show. One thing about yours truly, I am always honest, straight to the point. Sometimes I say things that might, annoy a few people out there, but I prefer to tell it like it is. And the one cool thing, especially about us being wrestling fans, there's nothing wrong with disagreeing with each other. You don't agree with something, I don't agree with something you say. As long as we respect each other in the end, that's what matters. But I'll be honest with you. We now have 2 events with Thunderdome. And I could honestly say that last night's NXT, and it has nothing to do with Karrion Kross winning. I am happy, obviously, of Kross, but did I say of Kross? Of course. But the thing is that those live NXT fans, as small as they are as far as numbers, to hear, real reaction, cheers, jeers, boos, chants, yelling things out. I love that. Honestly, not only did it sound like a soccer game where both teams are in midfield and they keep kicking it back at each other, like they're nowhere near the goal. Like you don't hear this like roar or eruption. It's just that steady noise. Anybody who watches soccer games know what I'm talking about. They're midfield. They kick the ball this way. They kick the ball this way. It's just a steady. And here's another thing too. They're using a soundboard. And I don't know the nationality of some of the people, like with the little cheering tonight, the noise in the background, but I swear to God, I felt like every 2 minutes I heard in the noise of the WWE the same voice going da 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 ha da 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 ha da da ha. And not only that, you remember Friday? I hope to God you checked out Friday's show. Because Friday we talked about Thunderdome in detail and ways to make it better. And one of the things we were talking about is that they need to do something where the fans cheer, jeer, get excited. You know, and Big E wins and hits, and everybody's just like this. Well, apparently tonight, WWE, with the people in Thunderdome, were giving them alerts as to when to cheer and when to react. And the problem is, it looks so horrendously produced. I really did not like it. Now, early on, it was cool. I think it was the Street Profits maybe that won, and you saw a lot of the fans going like this, and they're like they're getting animated. But go back and look at the very end with Roman Reigns. Go back at the end and look at Roman Reigns and look at everybody there. Did Retribution kidnap someone in a production truck and they forgot to hit the button, to react to something? You could tell that a lot of what you saw tonight from Thunderdome was not actually live. Not actually live, because I guarantee you, especially you look at that audience that was on those screens, Roman Reigns comes out and starts beating the pants off of Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, and starts doing what he's doing. You mean to tell me, I got to take this off. I'm sorry if my hair's a little messy. My hair. Fucking water bottle. I cursed. You mean to tell me, if you're on the screen, you wouldn't be like, no animation at all? Go back and look. You got some people at some points going, there was Roman Reigns at ringside beating up Bray Wyatt, and if you look at some of the cameras, this is what you saw. Come on. I know you want to give the impression that live fans are there. I know I saw the Fire Velveteen Dream sign that popped up. That's going to pop up at live events. That's going to pop up at any era, at any time. I saw one goof on social media that tweets, there, I did it. And you got to see, there's like 3,000 goofs that believe him. I could have went on Twitter and typed, yeah, I did it. Fuck you, Velveteen Dream. And everybody, I would have got thousands and thousands of likes. No evidence, no nothing. These are people that are using this just to feel like they're part of a movement, just to get accolades, acknowledgement. This is what I say to all of them out there. We talked about it in detail during the NXT TakeOver recap. But, but that's the thing. I know WWE wants to give this aura that there's all live fans actually in the arena. And yes, you're always going to get jerk-offs that get animated, go into business with themselves. I'm waiting for, what's going to happen. Somebody's going to wear an AEW logo shirt, and then you're going to have some goof online that has nothing to do with Thunderdome, and they're going to tweet, yeah, I showed it. And then they'll get 3,000 likes over it. You're always going to have jackasses that are going to do that. You have to be above that, because honestly, the way they're doing this right now, it's getting old very quickly. It's cool to see a whole bunch of faces in the back. It's cool to see reactions. But if you can't keep up with that and you're that careless, I mean, you see things going down with Asuka and Bayley and Sasha Banks, and like there's almost no reaction. Asuka wins the women. Go look at some of the reactions. You could tell that these people are not being streamed live. They're just sitting there. They're playing with their phones. They're not even looking. And again, this constant noise of like a soccer game, you know, no cheer. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I've been a wrestling fan since '79. And if somebody said to me right now, DT, after 72 hours, what would you rather have? Inside that arena, but you put more, you know, NXT fans around ringside and put plexiglass or not, and they get loud and they chant. Somebody said bask in his ass or something yesterday. Did you see that when Karrion Kross fought Keith Lee? Somebody yelled out, bask in his ass! You know, things like that. I want to see and feel live authenticity. Authenticity is one of the most important aspects of pro wrestling. And if you're going to just throw screens on there and you can't hear them and all you hear is piped in soccer soccer sounds and no roar, all you're doing is, like I've said since Wednesday, you're taking a piece of spotted meat, a piece of semi-spoiled meat, and you're trying to put it in a beautifully nice can. But at the end of the day, it's still spoiled meat. Now, with Roman Reigns returning, you know, this is a positive. The big question is, and I've pointed this out for the last 5 or 6 months, you look at the Fiend's work schedule. Now, yes, he had newborn. So did Roman Reigns. So Bray Wyatt is being uber cautious about his health and his family's health right now. Remember about 5 or 6 weeks ago when we talked about Bray Wyatt's, the amount of minutes that he's wrestling? We did that on the Don Tony show. And what did I say about 6 weeks ago? That out of the entire WWE roster, the only person that he would probably be able to brawl with, you know, that maybe feel a little bit comfortable just being one-on-one with him is Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns and him are very similar with the newborns and family and older folk being around them. So when you see Roman Reigns returning, the big question is, are you going to see him having matches against others? Or is he going to be sequestered in the building, cut his promo on Bray Wyatt or whatever it is, and then leave? And then when they have the match, you may see very little interaction with Roman Reigns or someone else. Now, to be honest with you, I'll take that. I'll take that for the time being. He looks to be in phenomenal shape. We've posted photos of him working out in the gym. He looks massive. I'd rather take a little bit of Roman Reigns than nothing right now. But I agree with Jeanette and several others who have said it tonight. That was Otis. I mean, seriously, where was Otis? Even on Friday Night Smackdown, Retribution, they're all beating up Braun Strowman. Where is Otis? I mean, he's got the briefcase. Braun is knocked out. He's pretty much, you could draw a chalk line over his body. And where's Otis? He's with Mandy, celebrating in the back. Hi, Mandy. Hey, Mandy. Hey, Mandy. Don't even come out with, I'm just talking in storyline. It's not really Otis's fault, obviously. But why even come out with the briefcase? If you're not, whatever. Sonya DeVille. Thank you, Sonya. Hashtag thank you, Sonya. That's why I wrote earlier today. I also wrote hashtag thank you, Renee. If you didn't see the pre-show tonight, Renee Young was on, which surprised me big time. But then we figured it out quickly. Friday, I discussed Renee Young was leaving WWE. You got people out there mapping out her future. She's going to AEW. She's going to Fox Sports. She's going to go outside of wrestling. She's going to do this. She's going to do that. And my answer to all of them is let Renee Young and Jon Moxley map out their own future. You don't know if they want to, maybe have babies, or maybe she wants to try something else, or maybe she just needs to kick back for a little bit. Everybody out there is so quick to map out other people's futures. But meanwhile, their future is gee, how can I swindle people out of money because I'm not working right now? You know, good for them, and good for WWE to bringing her back on camera to say goodbye. Because on Friday, I admittedly said that you're not going to see Renee Young back on TV again. She's leaving. All the rumors start flying. They're not going to, they're just going to leave her off and that's it. But they did the classy thing today. They put her on the pre-show and they acknowledged it. Charlie Caruso acknowledged that she was going to be leaving and she thanked the WWE Universe. And, I have said this before. It's not about me, but, this is an example of what I say, that there's people on social media that 90% of what they write is negative or shots at people. And then when they get a little pressure, I was just joking. I'm just kidding around. You do an advanced Twitter search, my history of Renee Young. Every tweet that I have ever said about Renee Young is positive. Everything. I could only imagine how difficult it was for her to be in the announcer's booth. Never really doing it all, other than a little bit in NXT. You're doing it under the biggest company wrestling-wise in the world. A lot of pressures, a lot of challenges, and, people commenting about, her dress, her this, or her skills, lactors. She was one of the nicest people from what I hear, in the world of pro wrestling. And she's leaving. I hope she comes back. But as I've said before, you look at the women who have left WWE in the last couple of years, pretty substantial commentators now. Kayla Braxton is, upped her game. So she will, do just fine. We got to see who is good. That is a big void to fill. You may not think so, but that is a big void to fill. But Sonya DeVille, we also talked about Friday. Most of you out there pretty much agreed that Sonya DeVille was going to be taking time off. They changed the stipulation of the match. As ridiculous as it sounds, it kind of makes sense. She's got to show up at court. She's not going to show up at court bald. But not only that, rather than shaving her head and leaving WWE anyway, they're giving her time to deal with this traumatic experience, take care of the legal issues, just basically try to, regroup. Sonya DeVille, I hope, will be back in WWE without a doubt. But again, as I said Friday, just remember also that Mandy Rose was on that location too. I know a lot of people leave it out thinking that, if I talk about it, it's kind of like the Iron Sheik and Hacksaw Jim Duggan, like they weren't supposed to be together because they're feuding. Fuck that. This is real life. All right? You look at that psycho. And by the way, I was curious if they showed WWE pay-per-view in jail. Because if I was a prick, cop in jail, like one of those, patrol that walk up and down, I would have had it cranking in the background. Hey, fellow officers, Sonya DeVille's on TV. Too bad some people can't see it. I would have tormented that prick so bad that he's the jail cell, the bars. He starts banging his head in the bars. Guy should, hopefully that guy gets 10 years in prison minimum. But as I said on Friday, you look at this obsession with Sonya DeVille. Could you imagine how he felt about Mandy Rose? He was going to do all this so she doesn't have that match and get her head shaved. Can you imagine what he could have done to Mandy Rose to try to prevent that match? So, of course we keep Sonya in our thoughts and we wish her nothing but the best. But Mandy's going through some shit now as well. So just wanted to bring that up again because for some reason about 90% of social media still haven't gotten that memo, But anyway, so I don't know what you all thought about SummerSlam today. Overall, I could tell you I thought it was a decent pay-per-view. Again, as I said, even on Friday, the setup that they're doing, it looks awesome. It looks nice. Being in the arena instead of the tiny performance center obviously is a huge huge plus. It gives it that pay-per-view feel. And the cool thing about them being at the Amway Center, as I've said before, is they don't have to break everything down at night. Damn, we got to break everything down. We're going to Houston next week. Oh, we got to break everything down. We're going to Idaho next week. Oh, we got to break everything down. We got to go to New York next week. Yeah, we got to break everything down. They could just close everything, close the electric, shut some things down, and leave and go home for the night. So having the Amway Center for the next 2 months is definitely a plus. But they got to up everything else. And that Thunderdome stuff, it's getting old for yours truly very, very quickly. I just hope the wrestlers, the storylines now, as I showed you right at the beginning of the broadcast, we got someone coming to Raw tomorrow. Yes, it's not part of SummerSlam, but it was announced during SummerSlam. Keith Lee will be showing up on Raw tomorrow. I absolutely love it. And if you did not get a chance to check out my NXT TakeOver 30 review, which was done way before this announcement, I got into detail why Keith Lee needed to go to the main roster. Keith Lee, everything about him is Raw or SmackDown. NXT, it doesn't have that fit. A lot of people prefer NXT over Raw and SmackDown because of the quality of wrestling. There are people out there that prefer Raw and SmackDown over NXT because of the entertainment aspect. Now, you look at NXT, sure, it goes up against AEW, but if you look at NXT's rating and you look at Raw and SmackDown, you realize that a much smaller audience prefers to watch NXT on Wednesdays. And AEW, even though AEW is an alternative, they do more of an entertainment, feel good, almost going to like an indie event atmosphere. You have the Young Bucks do a crazy street fight with, Butcher and the Blade. It really doesn't have any storyline attached to it. Phenomenal, awesome match. Everybody goes home happy. Indie wrestling feel to it. So Keith Lee is in a NXT world where he's more catchphrase, he's more character, he's more larger than life, he's more entertainer. The guy can go in the ring. I mean, like I said earlier today, him and Dijakovic, fight forever, absolutely. But Keith Lee, there's a lot of Keith Lee that needs to branch out. Raw or SmackDown is perfect for him. So I am really excited that that is happening. Now, also tonight, I'm going a little bit out of place because you know how my style is. I don't sit here, WWE presents SummerSlam. Asuka. Big, news coming out of that. Asuka is your new Raw Women's Champion. She did not win the SmackDown title. And, we kind of saw it coming, even though you didn't see it coming. We kind of saw it coming because I even wrote about it before her match with Sasha. And a lot of you said the same thing, too. She was able to overcome Bayley because Sasha helped Bayley win. But unfortunately, Bayley could not reciprocate and help Sasha win. So Asuka defeats Sasha and is now the Raw Women's Champion. Now, I hear all of you out there that are going to say immediately, wow, Sasha, again, a pay-per-view title defense, no respect. I say this with as much respect intended as possible. For all of you out there, even tonight, hashtag Sasha deserves better. I say this with the utmost respect to all of you out there. Seriously. Are you fucking nuts? Do you realize what they have given her for the last bunch of months? They have been the focal point in the entire women's division. You've had women inside WWE saying the title should not all be strapped on. Stop. Sasha Banks losing this title furthers the storyline. Now And you see, the announcers tonight tried to force that storyline, which was really awful on the announcers' part. Basically, and this is true, if you listen to the announcers at the end of their match, when Asuka won the title, the announcers were pretty much saying that because Bayley didn't help Sasha, like Sasha helped Bayley, Sasha didn't win the title, retain the title. Now think about that for a minute. They're blaming Bayley for not cheating. What am I, in the Twilight Zone? What is this, AEW rules? They're blaming Bayley for not helping Sasha. I'm trying to understand where, unless it's no DQ, where that makes sense. It's dumb, it's moronic, but we also got to hope that Asuka is not injured, because for the second match in a row between Asuka and Sasha Banks, Asuka took a pretty bad spill outside the ring. She took pretty much like a powerbomb outside the ring, and it looked bad. I don't know if Asuka was knocked for a loop at all, but it looked bad. Then right after that, Sasha Banks hits her, I think, with the running knee, and that looked pretty bad as well. So, you got to remember, and I gave Karrion Kross credit for this as well, it gets to a point, whether it's a wrestling match or your house is on fire, whether, sometimes you're in a situation and an adrenaline kicks in, and adrenaline is weird because it could give you powers that you never, ever believed that you have. Plus, it numbs everything. So, Roberto, I think Asuka has a fine body. In fact, how many of you out there thought that we were going to get a little slip earlier today? There was one point that I think she kind of was nonchalantly adjusting herself. It looked like, maybe she, there was one point, I think you all saw it. Yeah, James, I talked about Karrion Kross on the recap earlier today. MRI tomorrow, looks to be a separated shoulder. We may have similar to what happened with Finn Balor, when he won the Universal title. But Asuka, let's hope that she's okay. Now, a few of you out there also pointing out Angie, the mother of Dominik, wife of Ray. You perverts out there, they look like a really cool family, seriously. I'm not going to lie, when I see Ray and Dominik, I know a lot of you remember the pole match or whatever it was with Eddie Guerrero. And by the way, speaking of Eddie Guerrero, I did not catch that Tom Phillips said this during the match tonight, because I'm preparing for the show and I'm watching it and I'm listening to this and that. But when I looked up and saw Seth Rollins come out for his match against Dominik, I saw Seth's attire and I said, man, that looks so familiar. And then it hit me. Is this Rey Mysterio, Halloween Havoc, 1997, when Rey fought Eddie Guerrero? Yeah, that's Seth Rollins pretty much mocking Rey. And, a lot of you out there will say that Rey Mysterio's Halloween Havoc 1997 match, his attire that you see right there, is one of our most favorites. I mean, Rey has had some beautiful masks. The Spider-Man one, the first one that he wore, I absolutely loved. But, the family looks cool. It looks cool. But every time I see Ray with Dominik, I always remember the shoot interview. Didn't he do the shoot interview with Rob Feinstein in our video that, he's got like a doobie and his son walks in the room? So I don't remember if it was Dominik, but I always remember something with the doobie and everything. Yeah, Seth, look, technically Seth Rollins was trolling tonight. I agree with you. But I think it was also a tribute. It really was. It was a tribute to Eddie. It was a tribute to Ray. It's not the way it's supposed to come off on TV, but I thought it was cool, man. I really do. I like when wrestlers will go the extra mile and be a little creative. They get WWE approval, of course, but be a little creative and get special gear for pay-per-view. Bronson Reed, paying tribute to Bam Bam Bigelow. I would take that attire and I would retire it. Wear it once. Maybe you bring it back for another event, a very special one down the line. But I like when you come up with a special outfit for certain pay-per-views. Absolutely thought that was cool. Yeah, I agree, Ray. I think Seth definitely looks up to Ray. We all look up to Ray, if you think about it, technically. But, yeah, it's a nice family. You know, when Angie came out around the entranceway and, you know, Ray is like, por favor, por favor, por favor, no, Angie, por favor. If that was me, I would have, in storyline, I would have grabbed, get the fuck back in the dressing room. What are you, stupid? You nuts? What are you, stupid? You know? Vamos! It's all right. It's all right. Dominik, I got a good question for all of you out there. Chat. Just type one name or the other. Very curious, live. Let's poll everybody without putting one up on social media. We're 24 hours removed from NXT TakeOver, and we had SummerSlam tonight. Who would you say had the better debut match? Dominik or Pat McAfee? Very curious to see what people... Be honest, there's no wrong answer here. I'm very curious. I'm going to take a slug of my soda since we're on like an 8-second delay, and I want to see what kind of response we get back. Not which one you liked more, but which one you think had the better match or better debut. Let's see. They should be rolling in right now. Dominik, hands down. Dominik. Okay, we got a couple of Pats. All right. You know, look, I gave Pat a hell of a lot of love earlier today. No secret, I don't like the guy. But I gave him a hell of a lot of credit today. Dominik deserves a hell of a lot of credit as well. Give credit to Lance Storm. Give credit to Ray. Give credit to everybody who has helped train Dominik, not just to do the 619 and some of, you know, the moves that he does, but Dominik has some great psychology nailed down. You know, and I hate comparing, but I'll compare it. You look at Humberto Carrillo, who I like, and I have given him compliments since the day he debuted on the main roster. You look at Humberto Carrillo's reactions when he gets the shit knocked out of him, and you look at Dominik Mysterio when he gets the shit knocked out of him. Dominik Mysterio, hands down, has the... You know who did a good job? Even though she didn't do much, and I know a lot of you out there did not see it, but I'm going to mention her name anyway. Dasha Fuentes. When she did that one match for the AEW tournament, yeah, she probably shouldn't have been in the tournament anyway. But you go back and you look at that. Her selling and her reactions, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Dominik knocked it out of the park today. You know, was everything perfectly? You know, no, of course not. I know about, you know, lucha libre and, you know, the religious meaning of the mask, and also when they wear, you know, hoods. I think Dominik should 86 the hood, seriously, because it does get in the way. Because a few times, it reminded me of Heath Slater. Remember when Heath Slater first came up to the main roster with Nexus and everything? The one thing that I always commented about is, man, think how many years ago that happened. I'm so old doing this for this many years, but I got to take the hat and the glasses off again so I don't break nothing. What did Heath Slater used to do? For a very long time, he would take a bump, he would get knocked on his ass, people would beat him up, and instead of selling the abuse that he just took, he'd be busy doing this. Go back and look at his early stuff. More worried about his hair going in his face. My hair. He finally stopped that. I think Dominik should get rid of use it as a jacket coming to the ring, but don't wear something with a hood inside the ring. because too many times it's going over his head, it's going on the side, he's like moving around. I would just, no. Mystery Man, aren't I tired after doing podcast after podcast after pod? I did 3 today. I was supposed to do 5 today. No, man, I'm not tired at all. Number one, the fact that you all enjoy this. I'm not kissing ass when I say this. It's like adrenaline. It's like caffeine. You know, I get excited. It's like Christmas. Maybe not Christmas, but I get excited, you know, this is a new element still. I'm only doing videos 7 months. I did audio only 23 years. So I still have to get used to this. There's a lot of little logistics that I still got to learn. It's just, there's only 24 hours in a day. This week, I'm going to spend some time making the video settings a little bit crisper, making the background a little bit clearer, fixing some of the lighting and stuff. And then later this week, I get the 46-inch monitor. 46-inch low monitor, so I'll be able to monitor everything. And what's cool about it, too, is I could take the chat of all you talking right now and make it huge. So I could spot every little thing that you say, especially the people that troll me. I'm kidding. But no, I'm not tired. It's cool. It's all good. It's all good. And, you know, like I say, too, and I try to avoid this because I'm not trying to cause controversy, but, you know, if I'm preparing for my own show, because I have everything configured for me, it's 10 times less work. So I don't mind. I don't mind doing it. So, and like I said, very soon we're going to debut a Tuesday show. I might even end up doing a show 7 days a week or 6 days a week. Seriously. Even if they're shorter. But thank you. I really appreciate that. The kind words. And, you know, look, I'm man enough. You could criticize me. If you got legitimate criticisms towards any stuff that I do or say, speak out, man. You know, if you have legitimate criticism, I'll always respect it and accept it. So, the monitor was a little bit costly. I charged it. Dell made me an offer. They put it on credit. You know, you pay like $60 a month. It was pricey. But I have to have it because I'm going to start taking calls on these shows. By the next pay-per-view, not Payback, but the one after it, I'll be taking calls on here. You'll be able to call in and talk the pay-per-view with yours truly, you know. So that's the next step. You know, in the next two weeks, I'm going to start taking calls. I have it all ready to go, but the thing is that there's too many things for me to monitor at once. I got to have a big monitor to monitor everything. So I appreciate that, Michael. I'm definitely not the greatest of all time. I might be the longest of all time, but I'm not the greatest of all time. There's some great podcasters out there, and we know their familiar names. So shout out to Puffy89. I don't think Roman wearing all black had anything to do with Retribution. It would be interesting if Roman Reigns had something to do with Retribution. Seriously. I mean, I think that would be pretty interesting. Seriously. Could you... I mean, there's a lot of reason for Roman Reigns to want Retribution, but, you know, he's the one that... You know, if he wants Retribution, let him go to China, because China is the reason, technically, that he hasn't been wrestling. You know, Vince didn't say, stay home. You know, if Roman Reigns would have called Vince 3 months ago and said, I want to be back, Vince would have been like, you know, what took you so long? You know, but I totally respect why Roman Reigns stood home during all of this. So, you know, but that would be very interesting if he was the leader of Retribution. That would be fascinating. I mean, obviously, things would have to tie into place, but I don't know if that actually does tie into place. But, you know, we'll see what happens. Look, I said this last week, and I think you've already seen exactly what I was talking about. I said the minute WWE moves to Amway Center, you're not going to see the building tampered with. You're not going to see nothing spray painted. You're not going to see windows broken. You're not going to see anything like that. You're going to see Retribution watered down tremendously. And if you look at the last 2 shows, SummerSlam and Smackdown, Retribution did almost nothing. And again, there's no excuse on SmackDown when the WWE wrestlers are beating up Retribution, why any of them just didn't go for the mask in storyline purposes. But I like that, man. Look, I always appreciate anyone that thinks outside the box like that. So, that's interesting. I don't know if it'll happen, but it's definitely interesting. So big shout out again to A. Espinosa. He wanted a shout out to Stefano and Jessica earlier. Also, just to get into a few others, and then we'll start, getting into the match specifics. Stone Cold Reigns, I wouldn't say that. Roman Reigns is angry. I think Roman Reigns is angry because of missed opportunity. Roman Reigns was supposed to do a hell of a lot after Goldberg won the championship. And then COVID struck, and Roman Reigns, needed to stay home. So Roman Reigns is angry that 6+ months of his career has been taken away. What I hope does not happen, and I think we all agree with this, we were all annoyed that the Fiend lost the title to Goldberg. And if you remember my formula at that time, everybody agreed with me. The idea of Fiend losing the title to Goldberg, it was done that way to get fans so angry at Goldberg, for who rarely wrestles anymore, had that match with Taker, angry at Goldberg for taking the title away from Fiend. So we'll put Goldberg against Roman Reigns, and since Roman Reigns is works every day and he's here busting his ass, that just to take it off of Goldberg, fans would get behind Roman Reigns tremendously. Then COVID struck, and that formula didn't happen. And instead, they put Braun Strowman in that mix. Braun Strowman's title reign since WrestleMania has been terrible, awful. But there's no denying the last 4 or 5 weeks, Braun Strowman has turned it up. Braun Strowman right now, to me, is doing the best work of his career. Even though I loved, I hate Roman Reigns and pushing over the ambulance, all that stuff, I still, right now, I could buy into this. Kind of disappointing that Alexa Bliss had nothing to do with tonight's match, and the finish was so uneventful. It almost felt like we're almost out of time. We got to go to the finish. That's what it felt like. But right now, I hope Roman Reigns does not steal away Bray Wyatt's momentum, because a lot of people did not want that title taken away from Bray Wyatt when Goldberg won it. Now, Bray Wyatt, they've been trying to do damage control for quite some time now, and finally Bray Wyatt gets it back, and now Roman Reigns shows up. So now you ask yourself, are they now going to do what they wanted to do without Goldberg, if you think about it? Because Bray, when he took on Goldberg, we all thought Bray was retaining, and then Bray would fight Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. I hope they didn't have all these plans for Bray Wyatt, and then all of a sudden, nope, Roman Reigns is back. We gotta shake it up. So I got to see where it goes. I'm not crapping on it, definitely not crapping on it, but I definitely want to see where it goes. I hope this does not, hurt Bray Wyatt in any way. Plus, didn't it feel like Roman Reigns was the heel tonight? I don't know. But again, that Thunderdome crowd with almost no reaction. I'd be blown away if Roman Reigns. I would have just jumped out of my seat. I would have just been so animated as a young wrestling fan, and you saw people just sitting there, and you could tell they're not watching it live, that there's a delay. There could be a delay, and then this thing pops up on the screen. Okay, everybody now here, cheer. And the lack of crowd noise, I would have rather had 40 of the quote-unquote fans around ringside yelling and giving natural, Roman, you suck! Things like that, than to just hear the soccer noise in the background. So, thank you for that. Total Nonstop Anthony. Yeah, that was part of my Breakfast with Blassie intro originally. Total Nonstop Anthony. That's what you got. Total Nonstop Anthony. Shout out to DJ Whitesox. Good friend of the show as always. Miguel Miller, he missed the pay-per-view. Can he please get a rundown on the results quick? All right, I'll do that for you, my friend. I'll give you the quick match results, and we'll get into a couple of details as well. Apollo Crews retains the United States Championship, defeating MVP. We had Bayley retain the SmackDown Women's Championship over Asuka. We had the Street Profits retain the Raw Tag titles, defeating Andrade and Angel Garza. In a no disqualification, loser leaves WWE match, Mandy Rose defeated Sonya Deville. Seth Rollins over Dominik Mysterio. We had Asuka beat Sasha Banks to win the Raw Women's Championship. Drew McIntyre retains the WWE Championship over Randy Orton. And The Fiend defeats Braun Strowman for the Universal Championship. All right, bye, everybody. No. So, that is the quick rundown. Now, I'm going to get into a couple of things that caught my eye that I haven't brought up yet. Metallica, I kind of agree with you. Roman is not a heel or the leader of Retribution. He's just pissed that Braun and Bray lack leadership with all the chaos going on. All right, yeah, I could see that. I could see that. What's going to happen if Roman is back and Retribution is still causing chaos? Is Roman going to interact with them? It's going to look very goofy very quickly. If Retribution is causing chaos and Roman Reigns never seems to be around. Not teasing that he's in Retribution, but they really have to think this through. Remember what I said on Friday, that I'm hoping they don't do the invitation storyline, but I think that they will. You're going to find out. We're inviting Retribution to appear on SmackDown to list your demands. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not going to rip it until I see it. Now, kickoff show. Shayna Baszler said she wants the winner of the Raw Women's title match. So are we going to get Shayna Baszler versus Asuka? Maybe. I want to see who Sasha Banks and Bayley are going to face. Remember, next week we got another pay-per-view. Got Payback. Sasha and Bayley have to team up to defend those tag titles. It pretty much feels like there's almost a guarantee that they're going to lose the tag titles as well. What tag team out there in the women's division is deserving? Do you go with Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan? Do you go with Iconic? I don't know. The women's tag team division, WWE, has sucked for quite some time. Maybe you have Ruby Riott and Bianca Belair. I don't know. But maybe you have Naomi and so on. I'll tell you the truth, and it's not because they're both black, but I kind of think I would like to have seen Naomi and maybe Bianca Belair be a tag team. Just because they're colorful characters. I don't mean colors in black. I mean colorful characters, very animated. They have that style about them, the way they talk, the way they walk. But I really am not interested in seeing the Iconics being tag champions again. But Apollo Crews beating MVP to retain the United States Championship. That was one of our predictions. I think we all saw that. And Friday I said, I think I'd like to see Apollo Crews feud with Bobby Lashley next. Shelton Benjamin and Lashley banned from ringside. It was kind of funny that the minute that MVP lost, they run down and they looked like they were limping. They looked like that they were not in the mood to be running down the rampway. But they run down the rampway and, basically Apollo Crews gets out of Dodge and, he gets away from them. I wouldn't mind Apollo Crews versus Shelton Benjamin. But something's got to give with Lashley, man. I mean, the whole storyline with him, Rusev, and Lana really was just... And you know what's interesting? Sure, Roman Reigns coming back is not even like a win for a creative person. It's not like they created this return. He's ready to do a little bit. We don't know how much yet. You look at Keith Lee now showing up on Raw. You look at Retribution. You look at Raw Underground. I'm not saying this to be a jerk, but obviously not all of that is perfect. Retribution is a lot of holes, obviously. But Raw Underground, I have liked since moment one. Pretty interesting to see how much WWE has changed in such a short amount of time that Paul Heyman is no longer writing on Raw. Very interesting. I mean, we could have still ended up with a lot of the decisions that are right now, but very interesting to see where Raw has gone in the last 6 weeks. Still has enough. It still has a lot to go. Wow, we've gone 52 minutes already? Oh, that's pretty cool. Darren, man, I had no idea that you were overseas. It's 4 a.m. where he is right now. I'm always like, this prick is always giving me a hard time. You stay up till 4 a.m. for this, man? Nah, you got much love for me, man. Seriously. But, so, getting back to this, Lashley has had an awful, storyline after storyline. They finally got him broken away from Lana. They didn't do any divorce storyline on TV. They didn't have, people coming out and leave. They just drifted away from it. It's just drop it. So that's something I'm happy about. But Lashley, he needs to do something, man. And I'm not just saying gold. Lashley from Lana to MVP, and this guy should be a lot further up on the food chain. I still think you have to have a title in Raw Underground. Of course, it could be changing hands week after week after week because of the type of fights that are going on. It's kind of difficult to have a title right now because sometimes Shane just ends a match. That's enough. That's enough. So, it would be harder to do than you think. That's why I thought the 24/7 championship would be perfect for now. You have a 24/7 champion, get beat up by someone, and that person shows up on Raw Underground with the 24/7 title. The 24/7 title changes multiple times in one night. So who cares? Raw Underground 24/7 champion shows up there and defends the title a little bit. I agree, Ray, too many titles. But if you're going to have too many titles and they're not going away, you might as well utilize them a little bit better. I personally would rather see the 24/7 title be defended at Raw Underground with people beating the crap out of each other than to see them run around the arena like a Benny Hill show. The Ninjas thing, that's already run its course. The Ninjas really have to get out of there. Especially since the Ninjas and Retribution apparently shop at the same store. What are we going to get next? The Ninjas versus Retribution? I don't know, man. But WWE needs to do more with Lashley. Really does. Maybe Lashley feuds with Apollo Crews next. And I would not have any problem with Lashley taking that title, by the way. So, SummerSlam main show, Bayley defeating Asuka to retain the SmackDown Women's Championship. Bayley had 317 shaved into her head to represent the number of days that she has her title reign, which is impressive. It was a decent match. The only problem is, and I've said this for a while now, when you have that much Bayley, Sasha, and Asuka on TV for months and months and months, it's very hard to make something stand out for the match itself. Tonight, we'll always remember it for the outcome for what happened with Asuka and Sasha Banks. A month from now, when we think of Asuka versus Bayley at SummerSlam, you might feel very similar to Asuka versus Bayley on a Raw or a SmackDown, or Asuka versus Sasha on a Raw or a SmackDown. No denying those three do great in the ring. They have great matches. Sometimes there's some moves that look pretty scary, man. And again, I hope that Asuka was not injured tonight in any way, shape, or form. But basically, how this match ended was you had Sasha Banks getting involved in the match. And Asuka went for a hip attack on Bayley. Bayley moved out of the way, and Asuka knocked Sasha Banks off the apron. So Bayley, then it's almost the same finish. Each match almost had the same finish. Remember that, what I just said. Bayley catches Asuka in a cradle and gets the pinfall win. You know, you never saw it coming. You know, it was an okay match, but in the end, yes, and I agree, Roberto, we don't forget Charlotte. We don't know yet what's happening with Charlotte. Right now, we can't assume, you know, although, who would you have Charlotte team up with to be a tag team champion? Would you have Charlotte team up with anybody? I'm curious out there. If you could have Charlotte, I wouldn't want Charlotte to be a tag team champion, even though, you know what, she probably would like to have that accolade under her belt. Who would you have Charlotte team up with? I'm curious. I can't think of anybody offhand. I really can't. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But we then, so remember the finish of Bayley and Asuka, because Sasha Banks tries to get involved. She gets knocked off the apron. That distracts Asuka. Bayley gets the cradle and the win. Tessa Blanchard is not in the WWE yet. Ronda Rousey is not around. Rhea Ripley's, you know, I thought about that, Richard. Rhea Ripley's not a bad choice. You know, I think, wouldn't it be something if somebody from Retribution wins a championship in the very near future? I know it sounds stupid, but it would be very interesting. No one has talked about that. What happens if somebody from Retribution wins a title? Could be a female is part of Retribution. Who knows? I don't know. But we'll see. I do not want Charlotte and Dana Brooke teaming up. Wasn't Dana Brooke her protege a while back? I could swear I think Dana Brooke was with Charlotte, and it didn't really go all that well. Lacey Evans would be interesting. Lacey Evans would be interesting. But I don't know if I would want Lacey Evans with Charlotte. So, Dominik is in the back with Rey Mysterio. Dominik wanted Rey Mysterio to promise he wouldn't get involved in the match. Rey reluctantly agreed. Okay. Well, as you'll hear in a little bit, that wasn't really necessarily the case. Street Profits retain the Raw Tag titles, defeating Angel Garza and Andrade. I honestly feel that if you're going to have Andrade and Angel Garza split, I would have liked to have them been tag team champions. And then when they lose the belts, maybe you have a split. I like the Street Profits, but their Raw tag team title reign has been at best. Who's going to feud with them next? I don't want to see the Viking Raiders involved with them again. I know that there's some other teams. Who knows? Maybe AOP does make their return very, very soon. Maybe they'll face somebody at Retribution. I'm not kidding. But they basically teased a little bit of dissension towards the end of the match. You know, we got to remember that Montez Ford was drugged by Zelina Vega. And awfully quick, nobody's really angry at it anymore. I don't know. It's just, I personally, you know, after all of this time, you know, basically Andrade is distracted because Zelina Vega was knocked down outside the ring. And Angel Garza is looking for him. And Angel Garza turns around and gets put in the move, and Street Profits get the win. You could see it on Raw now. They're probably going to lead to a split. I like them as a team. I don't want to see Andrade as a babyface. I don't want to see Angel Garza as a babyface. And I don't necessarily want to see Angel Garza and Andrade feuding with each other. I don't understand why there's such a fascination with them splitting up. You know, especially when Randy Orton got involved with them for that short period of time. You know, sure, Randy Orton's not involved with them anymore, but I would have thought that after that, they went on a momentum. They were wearing outfits that looked alike. They were doing very well as a tag team. And this fascination, unless something that I suggested a month or so ago, maybe you turn Humberto Carrillo into a heel, and you have Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza team up. Like two very young Latin heartthrobs. I know some of you out there may say, Humberto? Heartthrob? Look at this hair. You know, still, I know from looking around social media, not, creepy, but just, I look to see what people's reactions are to certain matches, skits, storylines. I want to see what the overall consensus is before I talk about stuff. I like to be a little bit prepared and aware of how people feel about things. He's got a lot of fans out there. So I kind of think I would rather have Angel Garza teaming with Humberto and let them be two cocky, young Latino heels that you want to beat up, instead of him and Andrade. Andrade, he looks like he could be a standalone star. I just don't understand this fascination, the teasing breakup. I don't know. I'm just not feeling it. Backstage, they had a segment with Bayley and Kayla Braxton. Bayley with a broom that they're going to go for the clean sweep tonight over Asuka. And man, WWE, I know a lot of people were pointing this out. Somebody tried to have some fun on the soundboard and started putting in boos. And it was so over the top that I'm like, man, I understand the Thunderdome visual, but they have fucked up the sound. There's no crowd reaction. Sure, I think we're all happy to have a little bit of a break of the what? But still, no cheers, no jeers, no crowd. NXT last night, I'm telling you, and again, I know Cross is a friend of the family, quote unquote, but it has nothing to do with carrying Cross. That small group of NXT people had more energy than hearing soccer noise in the background tonight. Give me 40, 50 loud screaming fans than seeing 500 people, and it's not even 500 if you think about it. It might be 100 at best. There weren't as many duplicates tonight. If you didn't see my show on Friday, we were pointing out that on Thunderdome Friday, you didn't even see it on the opposite side of the building. Some of the people, they were shown 17 times on the screen. And if you don't know what I mean, but I don't mean that they flashed them 17 times during the show. If you were in that building and looked around, the same head was shown at the same time 17 times. 9 times on the hard cam, 2 on the side, and 5 or 6 on the back. I pointed out there were people Friday on Thunderdome, unless there was lots of twins that somehow maybe they had some type of attachment to their bodies, because there was one girl that was sitting right next to herself. Seriously, I was just, they fixed that a little bit tonight, but it's not hard to monitor it. It's not hard. And that fear of a sign or something, get out of here. By the way, everybody, and I'm not going to talk about it today, maybe I'll talk about it tomorrow on Monday's show, but Jon Moxley had some very interesting things to say about Thunderdome. So, not going to tease it here. Go check it out. And by the way, shout out to all of you who are tuning in live right now. I don't want to belittle Mixler, which is audio only, which I promised I would always keep an audio only feature for everybody out there. But there's well over 1,000 people right now on YouTube. And, I appreciate everybody hanging out for a little while. So, definitely speak out, voice out how you felt about the pay-per-view as well. So now we have Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville. No DQ, loser leaves WWE. I felt bad for Mandy Rose with the table at one point. I don't know what she was trying to do. Like, the table was sideways, and she was trying to get it upright. And, obviously her hands are not that big that she can go from one side of the table to the other and lift it up. But instead of putting her hands underneath the side of the table and just pushing it up, I don't know if she's got long fingernails, but it came across to me like, I'm not breaking a fingernail. So she was trying to push the table to go upward. Yeah, people are pointing it out right now. I felt so bad for her because you could see that. And again, I'm baffled at this. Totally baffled. Unless WWE wanted all the spotlight to be on Mandy and Sonya and nobody else, I don't understand why you don't have Miz and Morrison at ringside. Heavy machinery at ringside. Even if they do a moment where they chase them off, that would have been a perfect moment where Mandy Rose is struggling with the table and here comes Otis that helps her set up the table or something. Mandy Rose has gotten a lot better. Sonya Deville has gotten a lot better, especially on the mic. But they're not like two of the top women. They're no Asuka, Bayley, or Sasha Banks, with all due respect. I personally think maybe they didn't want them around ringside because they didn't want any comedy part of this. Maybe they wanted it to be really, really serious. But I think breaking up the mood a little bit might have helped. Even if, like I said early on, Otis and Tucker chased Miz and Morrison off, and now it's just down to two. But they had a pretty decent match, told a really good story. Very physical at times. Sonya Deville, she's got, pretty nice, reputation and record. She actually could do it in the ring a little bit. She had to, basically, how do I say this the right way? Mandy Rose had to channel her Kenny Omega inside her because she had to do a lot of shots to the face to give that suspension of disbelief that she has a shot on Sonya Deville, for various reasons. But it was a very good match. It told the story it needed to tell. Again, I think if Miz and Morrison were at ringside and Sonya is freaking out that she's got to leave WWE, maybe you could, maybe because of what happened, with the break-in. I envision WWE officials having to pick her up, carry her off, that she won't leave. Maybe even if you did a little comedy thing in the back where you open the back door and you put her down and you just close the door and maybe you just open it again and just drop a bag outside. Like, you're fired. But you don't want to do that because of what? Just the perception of it, because you know what social media would do. They would say, wow, WWE, she just went through this unbelievable traumatic experience and you're giving her time off and you got to humiliate her in the process and throw her bags out and throw her out on the street. So you could almost feel, and honestly, I'm not just saying this to say it. By the way, we're almost up to 1,200 on social media. Much love. Thank you. Salute. But the thing is, this might be a case, but WWE was too conscious about social media's reaction than maybe doing something that would have been a better storyline. Sonya Deville, not wanting to leave WWE and having that look outside of ringside, that should have been built a little bit more. Have Miz and Morrison around ringside. Hell, just think about this. Miz and Morrison could have been around ringside to try to console her, and she knocks out Miz and Morrison. One punch, knocks them out. That would have put her even more strength. She's a tough woman, man. Tough person. But I would have handled her leaving, forcing her out because she just lost the match a lot more. And instead, what they did was Otis runs down with the briefcase. And he's in the ring with her. And Mandy Rose is trying to do the worm. And all the focus is away from Sonya Deville. So, I personally think the finish could have been done a little bit better. But it wasn't bad. I mean, Mandy Rose hit her with 3 consecutive knee strikes, and she finally got Sonya Deville. Sonya DeVille will be back. I hope she'll be back. You know, I mean, as nuts as this sounds, you know, if we found out later on, I don't want to be a celebrity. I can't be, you know, deal with stalkers like this. And there are people out there over the years. I'm not saying this with Sonya, but there are people out there over the years in sports and entertainment that have walked away from their professions because of the lack of privacy and what comes with being a celebrity. You know, it's a tough deal, man. It's a tough deal. And when you started to find out all of the private messages that this psycho was sending Sonya DeVille privately, I mean, you know, the balls of this guy. But at the same time, though, you know, that's the problem when you accept messages. To me, and we talked about it Friday, and a lot of you PM'd me, emailed me after that and said the same thing. This guy for months and months and months was sending her death threats, sending her nudes of his lower extremity, very sexual overtones, and nothing was ever done. I personally don't know the answer. I won't guess. I'm not going to lie and say I do. I personally think when you have your DMs open, you get hundreds. Hell, I get 20 to 30 DMs a day sometimes. Sometimes I get more. My God, when I bashed Sami Zayn that time, I must have got like 600 in one day. You know, it's amazing. Some people, they get one troll and they're triggered for life. Me, I had to deal with hundreds of Sami Zayn, and I apologize for that. I was man enough to apologize. People, you know, that were respectful enough to tell me why they felt I was wrong, I listened to them and I said, hey, I agree. But the thing is when you have your DMs open like that and you're getting hundreds of DMs, there is a good possibility that Sonya DeVille had no idea what this guy was PMing her. It could have just been buried with other DMs, but if she saw them, I would have blocked him, the first one that came in. And even with that, I would have called the cops, reported it, filed a complaint, get a restraining order, something. And there's a lot of psychopaths out there, you know, on both sides. Like I said, if you've never seen, and I did watch it Saturday afternoon. If you've never seen the movie The Fan with Robert De Niro and Wesley Snipes, look at that. And as you watch that movie, just think if Twitter, social media was around at that time, all this stuff was going on. There are people out there that are obsessed fans of people. You know, you see, someone that you like wins a match, wins a title, and they tweet 25 times about it. And they get frustrated when the person that they're showing all that love to does not acknowledge them back. It sets them off. It's a weird thing, man. It's weird. But I wish Sonya DeVille the best. I hope she comes back. I hope that she can, you know, overcome this traumatic experience. And she seems like a very strong person. So we wish her the best, for real. VJ, how did he find her house? Dude, man, I'm not going to say anything here, but I used to do skip tracing for Chase Manhattan Bank in the 90s. All right. I will tell you this. There are websites out there that you could do background checks on people. There are sites out there. Well, this is a legal site if you use it the right way. There's a website called Intellus, Intellus. You could pull phone numbers of people. You could pull addresses of people. You could get so much stuff. Even when you do a search, sometimes it tells you the family members of people's names. When I was doing the history show, one of the toughest things that I used to go through was not being able to find the actual age of some people who had passed away. Some people out there never bother to find out someone's age. So in a lot of cases, I would do an Intellus search and do other places and check their hometown, see where they were from. Maybe you link one or two cities that they had lived in their lifetime, and then a search would give a result. It wouldn't give you any private information. You have to pay for that. But at least it would lead you to the person's age at minimum. So trust me when I tell you, Did I talk about the Rebecca Schaefer incident? I don't really, didn't really focus on that. So, every incident is different, dude. Sonya DeVille, like I said, with this psycho, I only know what's been revealed in court and the documents, but I will repeat what I said Friday, and I sort of said earlier today. You actually take the time and see everything that this guy said, because the court documents, a lot of it is public information if you know where to look. You actually see what this psychopath was planning. What triggered this was the hair versus hair. The minute that was going down, he made the decision to go from South Carolina to Florida. And he was going to do whatever he could to stop her from having that match. Now, again, I don't know what's inside this guy's head, but he had an obsession with Sonya DeVille. It was a crush, it was a love, and it turned into a hate because he felt slighted, being ignored, various reasons. So now if you think about that obsession and he shows up and he finds out, wow, I got 2 for 1 night. Not only does he find Sonya DeVille there, but he finds Sonya DeVille's arch nemesis there. You imagine what this guy could have done to Mandy Rose? He must have thought Mandy Rose was the ultimate evil. Lord knows. We haven't heard anything about him sending crazy PMs to Mandy Rose. But then again, Mandy Rose may not have her DMs open. I don't know. But, in the end, it's sick. It's sick. It's sick. We just wish him the best. So, Seth Rollins versus Dominik Mysterio. As I posted the picture earlier of Dominik with Angie and Ray. Dominik's outfit, not bad. Actually, I don't know if I showed you this. I did show you this picture. I like it, man. I mean, personally, to be honest with you, in my opinion, when you think street fight, you wear street clothes. So him dressing up in full, lucha libre guard for a street fight, maybe it didn't go with it, but he performed, man. He put on a great match. I've been saying it for months and months and months. There's a lot of people out there for many months have said, wow, I never seen this guy wrestle. What can he do? And, I saw a lot of people on social media say it. I've heard shows say it. And I kept answering at the same time to myself, you go out and look. By the way, there's almost 1,300 hanging out late tonight. I appreciate it. But, look, there's footage of him doing some stuff here and there. The guy had some awesome people training him. And he's a big boy. When they said he was 200 pounds, I think that's what they said tonight, 200 pounds. I'm like, 200 pounds? I think he's a little bit bigger than 200 pounds. But I want to see him next to Cedric and Ricochet. And I say Ricochet, not against Ricochet, but WWE's treating him like shit, so I call him Ricochet. They need to do a little bit better with them. Ali, and I want to see him next to them because to me, there's no way Dominik Mysterio is only 200 pounds. But, he's a big boy. Great future. Do we end up seeing Dominik turning on Ray and going into the camp of Seth Rollins? Maybe, maybe not. There's rumors that Rey Mysterio has agreed to a 3-year contract with WWE. So maybe we'll have some tags. Maybe we'll see Ray and Dominik versus Murphy and Seth Rollins. Who knows? I got news for you. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Dominik and Seth in some capacity at Payback once again. Maybe that's a little bit rushed, but some matches that we saw take place in the last 24 hours or so, you're going to see some of that repeat on Payback. Who knows? Imagine if Roman Reigns is going to wrestle on Payback. So, thank you, Solo. Thank you, Solo. Dominik put on a great performance today. It got physical very early on. Seth Rollins did rip part of Dominik's outfit, and started whipping him with a Singapore cane. Early on, Seth Rollins was not taking Dominik seriously. You know, he was out wrestling Dominik, and then Dominik just started hitting him with moves. Seth Rollins was obviously surprised, and Ray was around ringside. So, you know, big difference when you know, and look, we talked about that with other matches. Like Shawn Michaels last week with Drew McIntyre. Do me this favor. Oh, no, was it? No, it wasn't Shawn Michaels. Who was it? Somebody tells him, do me a favor. Stay in the back. Don't go out there. No matter what, don't go out there. You know, and it happens every few months with somebody. Do me a favor. Don't go out there. No matter what happens, don't go out there. That's not what Dominik said tonight. Dominik didn't say to Ray, do me a favor. Don't go out there. No, all Dominik said was, please don't interfere. Now, you could walk me to the ring, and you could hang out by the ring, but just don't interfere. Was it HBK? I thought it was. For some reason, it just, like, didn't register with me just now, like, I remember what it was. HBK singing the praise with Drew McIntyre and saying, do me a favor. I got to do this by myself. No matter what, don't go out there. So you knew HBK was going to get his ass kicked. And he went out there anyway. So Dominik is getting beat up a little bit. Seth Rollins attempts the curb stomp. At one point, Seth Rollins went for the buckle bomb. Dominik used a leg scissors and took him down, and then it did a beautiful tilt-a-whirl DDT. Dominik, they did great, man. And trust me, Dominik and Seth have been practicing and working together. So this isn't the first time that they're in the ring together. So they actually gel really, really well. I know I rhymed. But, towards the latter part in the match, Dominik tried to use a chair. Seth Rollins hit him with a super kick. And then a power bomb. Yes, we all paid attention to Sasha Banks and Asuka's power bomb. This power bomb that Seth Rollins and Dominik, that looked like it hurt. Seriously. When they nailed that, I said, man, there's a bunch of people. I'd love to do that too. Even if I didn't want to hurt them, like I would just power bomb them into a pool and just fantasize that I'm doing it on like a block of bricks or something. But Ray, I agree. Wasn't the buckle bomb banned? Look, unless a wrestler reveals in an interview, I don't take everything that's being said so seriously. You know what I think happens for real? And I'm not saying this, like I said, I've made changes on these shows. We ignore certain noises out there. But I think what happens is somebody takes note that the buckle bomb has not been used for X amount of weeks. And you see, this is what happens when you do shows on battery. So part of the lights may have just went out. That's how many shows it did today. So one of my little lights went out. I actually could put a new battery in. I could talk to you while I'm doing it. But, I think what happens is that sometimes you'll have a match or you'll have a particular wrestler, and that wrestler is not doing a certain move for X amount of weeks, and it's a move where somebody's been injured multiple times. And because they haven't seen that move in quite some time, they start reporting that the move is banned or it's unofficially banned. I like that term, unofficially banned. That's basically them saying, like, we're not sure. We have no idea. We have nobody to verify it with, but we haven't seen it for a while, so we'll just say it's unofficially banned. Yeah, Darren, I'm trying not to put the air conditioner on because we're almost done over here, and it does make a little noise in the background, and I like to be as good as possible for all of you out there. And by the way, shout out to all of you. We're almost at 1,400. It keeps building. What, did all the top podcasters out there finish already? I'm joking, but I'll throw it on. But Dominik put on a great performance. If you remember what I said Friday, Dominik could win even if he loses. All he's got to do is put on a great performance, show that he can go. not due necessarily, and I didn't bring this up early because I really don't want to make a big deal about it because it moved on very quickly. But yesterday with Pat McAfee and Adam Cole, after all of that heat, Pat McAfee knocking out Adam Cole, you're going to be my bitch, dick, this, cursing him out. The first move is the move that petrifies me that I've been saying since 1997 on the hotlines. You hate someone. You want to kill them. You want to rip their head off. You can't wait to get them in the ring. You're going to destroy them, blah, 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 blah. And then the minute you go in the ring, the first thing you do is a collar and elbow tie-up. You hook up. All that anger to hook up. That's what I was hoping we didn't get tonight with Dominik. And they did not do that. So, towards the end of the match, Seth Rollins brought out a pair of handcuffs. We thought that Dominik was going to be handcuffed, but he wasn't. He starts getting whipped, and they're zooming in. Interesting how Dominik, all those cuts. Let me whip one of you with a kendo stick like Dominik was 2 weeks ago, and you tell me if those marks are 95% gone in 2 weeks. I get a paper cut that sticks with me for 3 weeks. I'm not diabetic, though. But they're whipping Dominik. And then Angie comes out to ringside. And, as I said earlier, Ray, por favor, no, Angie, por favor. And I'm like, no, please, no. I don't want to see Angie go to ringside. I don't want to see, look, we look back at Dominik from 15 years ago, and, look at little cute Dominik. Oh, my, how he's grown and this and that. People seem to forget that storyline of the custody of Dominik was terrible. It was terrible. It was creepy with Uncle Eddie, but it was still overall custody of Dominik. I don't know. I'm thinking, I was doing hotlines back then, and I remember a lot of people saying, man, I don't like this storyline at all. The best part though is when Eddie was in the ring with the book, if you remember the little book. But Angie comes out. No, por favor. No, por favor. No, Dios mío. No. Chocha vaina. But she doesn't go down to ringside. But then they handcuff Ray to the rope. They start beating up on Dominik. And Ray is like, take me. Take me. Oh, it was just like, it's like a bad ID channel film. They're about to destroy Dominik. Take me instead. I would have popped if Ray would have said, here's my other eye. Take it. Please, Dominik, no. My son, my boy. Give him the other eye. But basically, Seth Rollins beats up on Dominik a little bit, taunting Rey Mysterio. Seth Rollins hits the curb stomp, gets the pin. I will tell you, one thing that I liked that they did in this match that you rarely ever see with handcuffs. You have Seth Rollins show the key and gives it to Dominik. Good. Unhandcuff your dad. I love that little tidbit because too many times over the years when someone is handcuffed, nobody has the key. Here's a true story. I have the footage. Maybe I'll bring it online one day. I can't remember his name right now. He actually was a pretty decent wrestler on the Northeast. I can't remember his name. It's pissing me off. But when I was managing Grim Reaper and Jay Lover for VPW Wrestling in Long Island about, 12 years ago, 10 years ago, we did a segment one time where I was handcuffed to the ropes. And the guy was whipping me with a belt. And when he whipped me before we did the whole thing, I had told him in the back, lift my shirt up. Just don't reveal my stomach. Lift my shirt up and whip my back. Just lay it in me. I don't care. And one time I told him he was going to give me a chair shot. And I said, lay me with the chair shot. And I threw up 3 times that night. That's how hard he hit me. Because I opened up my stupid mouth. The funny thing is that after he handcuffed me and whipped me with the belt, I'm laying in the ring, and the referee, I hear him saying, like, who's got the key? Who's got the key? And I'm just acting like, I'm knocked out from the pain. And they left me there for 10 minutes. And it ends up that they had the key. They were just playing, a little joke on me. And I'm just laying there like a goof. Jason Static. That's who it was. Jason Static. I got the footage. I got to put it online. Some of the haters will love it, watching yours truly get whipped with a belt. But they left me handcuffed in the ring for 10 minutes. I was like, I'm saying to them, something unhandcuffed. They just like, anybody got this? They had the key all along. But how many times over the years you see handcuffs? And by the way, we're almost at 1,500. Count Mixler. Awesome. Keep it going, man. I'll keep going. But how many times you seen handcuffs used in matches over the years? And then after the match is over, nobody seems to have the handcuffs. And then somebody magically comes out, oh, I got it. I didn't even realize I had it. So I loved the psychological taunting of giving the key to Dominik. So he is so embarrassed of what just happened that he has to uncuff his own father. I love little things like that. Oh, I got ribbed many times, man. I got ribbed. Somebody fed me a snot sandwich once, which we'll tell another time. But I got ribbed pretty good. And me, unfortunately, I didn't enjoy them all that much. I didn't know how to handle them. A few people, wise me up on it. We'll talk about it another time. But China! So don't ask me why I said that. So Dominik, again, like I said Friday, even though he was going to lose, he won tonight. And who knows? Maybe Rey Mysterio, by the grace of God, his eye is totally healed. And maybe a payback. In fact, I just thought about it. Payback. It's a perfect reason. Rey Mysterio and Dominik versus Murphy and Rollins, Seth Rollins. Problem is, like I said, Rey was on the mend. And he's going to be miraculously cleared that, no, the eye is healed enough. The cornea is totally grown back. You have no danger of it falling out. I don't know. We'll see. Asuka beating Sasha Banks to become the Raw Women's Champion. The match was very good. Those two spots were scary, but one thing is for certain. We recently had the anniversary of NXT TakeOver Brooklyn of Sasha and Bayley, which is one of the most memorable matches in NXT, no question. Sasha versus Bayley, they can really, really go. And we have examples of it. The funny thing about it is, you go back and you look at NXT, and a lot of wrestlers seem to have some of their greatest matches in NXT. But once they come to their main roster, they're watered down a little bit to prolong their careers. So Bayley versus Sasha on the main roster, I think people would arguably say may not be as good as what was TakeOver Brooklyn. Now, I don't know anything will ever replace or be better than TakeOver Brooklyn that time. The point is that they have a history where they are absolutely tearing it up in the ring. So you may not like that Sasha had to lose the belt tonight, but who's better at being the babyface right now, chasing a title? You want to turn Bayley babyface and go after Sasha? Or do you want to experiment a little bit and have Sasha chase Bayley? It's not about, she's never had any success defending a title in a pay-per-view. Look at the overall picture. Look at all of the attention and history that's been made the last bunch of months. Sasha Banks is not being screwed in any way by losing this title. Look at the next step. If anything, we should be thankful that they're finally, pulling the lever and taking this to another level. But again, the thing I did not like tonight is this was not a no DQ match. Cheating is not something the announcers should condone. Maybe Corey Graves because of his attitude and character, but basically we had almost a repeat of the first match I told you before. Remember the ending. This time around, we had Bayley climb the top rope to the apron, and Asuka stops for a second. This was like some awkward pause. And then Asuka nails Bayley off the rope. And then Asuka gets a little distracted, and then Sasha Banks and her are exchanging some submissions. Sasha hits, her submission. Asuka hits hers. The bank statement, the Asuka lock, and it felt like a carbon copy. But what ends up happening is Asuka gets the Asuka lock on, and they're putting the camera on Sasha, and she's calling out for Bayley. Bayley, help me! Bayley, help me, help me, help me. And Bayley is somehow incapacitated from just being knocked off the ring. So Sasha is forced to tap. The announcers were adamant, and this is obviously WWE's doing, they're adamant to keep bringing to our attention that Bayley wasn't willing to help Sasha. Wasn't there for Sasha. Sasha was there for Bayley earlier, but Bayley wasn't there for Sasha. Which is just an absolute moronic thing to stay with, because you're basically saying that Bayley, because she didn't break the rules, that's why Sasha lost. And it's just a little bit goofy. David Byrne, what's up, my friend? What's going on? So, yeah, BK, a lot of people are saying, you keep Bayley as a heel. Sasha doesn't have to be this clear-cut baby face, hugging babies. Well, you can't do that right now. I don't think she would do it, actually, if there was no COVID. But, no. But, no, you have her chase Bayley. Bayley is the heel, There's going to be some dissension. When they have the argument, it's going to look stupid, but it'll make more sense. The heels are supposed to be, you didn't help me. I helped you, you didn't help me. Well, that's what they should argue about, but not the commentators. Even Corey Graves on Friday, and I pointed this out, he's asking, are they going to split? You look at everything that's gone on with the two of them, with all the video packages that they've been putting on TV for every week, for the last bunch of months or whatever it is. And just out of nowhere, you're going to break up? I mean, it feels way too forced. Again, it feels like WWE hit a pause button many months ago because of COVID, and then they just decided Friday, you know what? Lift the pause button. Not thinking about the last bunch of months of what they have done to show that them two together are like sisters. And it just felt way too forced. And after all this time, remember, we thought they were going to fight at Mania. So we got 6 extra months of the scenic route. They took so many detours to prolong this. And you finally bring it back, and you just force the narrative. EC3 has a shirt, control the narrative. They force the narrative. They have the announcers saying things that are just dopey and asinine that really don't make sense. Bayley wasn't there. Where was she? What are you talking about? If she would have got involved, then it should have been a DQ finish then. So, anyway, 7 months. Yes, Ray, 7 months. Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton. Best way I can give you my thoughts on it. First, they shown Shawn Michaels, who was home. Shawn Michaels was hoping for a Claymore kick. Trust me, we all were. I really want... Randy, you have the Raw KO out of nowhere. Randy, you had the Claymore out of nowhere. I don't do a good... My Drew McIntyre impersonation sounds like Nikki Cross. I got my family in Scotland. I keep losing every week. I keep losing my family. My family. Everybody's got family, Nikki. So, Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton had a great match. Very physical. Both had a little bit of blood around their forehead, their eye, just scuffed up. I do not think Randy Orton was drunk. They had a great match, blocking a few RKO attempts, blocking a Claymore attempt, doing a little bit of, submission moves. McIntyre with a really good spine buster, trying to apply the figure 4. Orton, pulling the referee down, getting involved with it. It was a great match. But again, I say to you, what I said at the beginning of this recap. Does it come across to you that Randy Orton, when he agreed to this match, told WWE, not taking the Claymore? Not taking the Claymore. I don't understand. You know, I get Randy Orton is to me top 3 as far as MVPs of Raw right now. He doesn't wrestle a full schedule, but Randy Orton demands your attention. He gets your attention. And he shows why he should be considered one of the greatest of this generation. And he's got many years left. His schedule will allow him to stick around for a lot longer. But if you want to protect him and having a way of Drew McIntyre win, tell me what is such a big deal of Drew McIntyre hitting a Claymore out of nowhere. And then even if Randy Orton came out and cut a promo on Raw the next day and said, I had you this close, and I got to give you credit. You hit me with the Claymore. Or Drew could say to him, you know, I hit you the Claymore out of nowhere. Randy Orton does not lose any stock or momentum if he gets hit with something out of nowhere. What happened to you that you never saw it coming? A backslide is considered you never saw it coming? I mean, you know, if you're going to use that term, and they used that term, they said it, I think, twice after the match. You didn't see that coming. A crappy finish? Well, you didn't see that coming. You know, come on. I mean, that's like a corny joke when me and my friends used to hang out in the late 80s. And this guy went up to this girl and he was talking and he's like, yeah, you know, I got 2 jobs. I got a vet at home. You know, maybe if you want to go out one day, you know, we'll take a ride in the vet. Meanwhile, I didn't tell her that he didn't have a Chevy Corvette. He had a Chevy Chevette. If you never heard, I mean, those cars are no longer around, Chevettes, but do a Google search and look up what a Chevette looks like compared to a Corvette, you know? So just because you say you never saw it coming, that doesn't make it good when it's a backslide. I didn't like the finish at all. They had a great match. Doing a Claymore out of nowhere would have done absolutely nothing negative to Randy Orton. But they did. That finish perplexed a lot of people online, including yours truly. And Tom Phillips, like, purposely, not once but twice, you didn't see it coming. A backflip, you didn't see that coming. I don't know, man. Drew McIntyre is such a beast. If anything, this backflip kind of like looks bad on McIntyre. You know? Randy, I told you I'd beat you. I told you I'd retain my title. Randy, I told you after what you did to Ric Flair. Randy, after what you did to Shawn Michaels, Edge, and Christian. I told you I was going to get you with the backflip. It's like a wet fart, man. It's like a wet fart. Some people are Googling Chevette right now. I swear on my mother. People used to do it. Yeah, honey, if you want to go out, you know, I'll give you a ride in my vet. Meanwhile, the guy had a freaking Chevy Chevette, not a Corvette. So, anyway, main event time. Braun Strowman versus The Fiend for the Universal Championship. No Alexa Bliss. Little confusing. Why they did everything the way they did. You know, it told a good story. They brawled. Braun beat up Bray as you would expect, especially Braun snapping. There was one spot, I don't know if anybody saw it, made me a little like, I hope Bray Wyatt's okay. Braun Strowman was good. I think chokeslam Bray Wyatt through a table, through the announcer's table, and it looked like Bray Wyatt only hit the edge of the table. That shit looked like it hurt. That looked like it hurt. They brawled outside the ring. Roberto, what car did I used to have? Oh, I had the infamous Cadillac, a 78 Coupe de Ville. That was my first car. I have pictures of it. It's green Cadillac. That was my first car. I had a Buick Regal. I had a Chevy Camaro for a short period of time. I had a Trans Am that looked like the Knight Rider car. Cadillac, Eldorado, Lincoln Mark 7. I still got a 91 Mark 7 that I restored. I have it as a classic car. And then I drive a Kia. I get older, I get more boring, honestly. I'm sure I'm leaving out a couple of cars here and there. But getting back to Fiend and Strowman, they brawled outside the ring. They used the toolbox. We'll talk about the box cutter in a second. They brawl in the back, and Bray throws Braun into like this side plexiglass or something. There was a monitor on top. Braun had a little cut on his head, nothing major, but a little knot on his head. And, it was a slow brawl, but it was very physical. Braun kicking out his sister Abigail. Chad, as far as the finish, he says it's fine and people are reaching. I didn't have a problem with the finish. What I had a problem with is they're brawling all over the building. Alexa Bliss is not a factor at all. Not a tease, nothing. Not a factor. And they reach back in the ring, and Braun Strowman is looking at all the tools that were thrown all outside the ringside area with the toolbox. And he picks up one box cutter and he drops it down, and he picks up another box cutter. And it's interesting that WWE would actually show a box cutter. I'm not trying to be PG here, but especially they're doing Antifa storylines and this and that, and they show somebody with a box cutter. I was a little surprised. There was one point that I have to bring up. I don't remember the gentleman who noticed it with me. I wish I could give him a shout out right now, but there's been so much chat going on. I don't have it here, but I know it's at the beginning of the chat. But there was one part right before the box cutter stuff. Bray Wyatt is laid out in the center of the ring. Did you all see it? Braun Strowman was throwing punches on Bray Wyatt, and he was hitting his fucking dreadlocks. Bray Wyatt's got his dreads, I guess they're dreadlocks. He's got his hair laid out on the mat, and you see Braun 4 or 5 times he's punching hair. It's nowhere near Bray Wyatt's head. He's hitting hair in the center of the ring. I don't know if anybody saw it, but I looked at that and I said, man, that didn't look good at all. But then he goes and gets the box cutter. And he goes in the ring, and people are like, what is he going to do with the box cutter? And he announces, what are you going to do? So I'm thinking, all right, he just punched the dreads. He don't like the dreads. Maybe he's going to cut a couple of them off. I don't know. Maybe he's going to cut the mask off. No, instead he starts cutting the ring. So now I'm thinking, old school, he's going to not only cut the ring, but he's going to open the hole, and maybe they're going to go down the hole, and maybe we'll get go. By the way, when they brawl in the back, why is it Bray Wyatt red? Why is there red lights in the back? I understand you want to do the Bray Wyatt vibe, but they go to the back, and it's like Bray Wyatt colors. I thought that was kind of goofy. But, Braun Strowman cutting the apron in the ring, cutting the pad, and exposing the wood. And then it stops from there, and I'm saying, okay, he's going to, use the wood as some type of attempted leverage on Bray Wyatt, which that I have zero problem with. But what ends up happening is Bray Wyatt gets the upper hand immediately. And Bray Wyatt hits him with, I think, at least 2 Sister Abigails on the exposed wood. One of them looked like it didn't hit the wood. And he goes to pin Braun, and he gets the win. So I didn't have a problem with the finish, but it was so abrupt. And again, if you're going to use that as you didn't see it coming, Doing a backslide or back, pin, with Drew and Orton, and then a very lackluster, two Sister Abigails, Braun doesn't kick out, nothing, and it's just an abrupt win. You didn't see it coming doesn't always mean that it's a good you didn't see it coming. Don't get me wrong, I was very happy that Bray Wyatt won. It's about time. Braun Strowman, he's been at the top of his game. But I guess the question would have been, who does he fight with next? That was what I said on Friday. What's next for Braun Strowman? You look at that roster. Does Matt Riddle suddenly rise to the top like that? I don't know. But Bray Wyatt wins, and the next thing you know, Bray Wyatt is jumped by somebody in the ring. And you could tell immediately that it's Roman Reigns. And as I opened up with this show, Roman Reigns extremely angry, beating the piss out of Bray Wyatt. And he's like, you're not a monster unless I'm this, or I created you, whatever it is. And they go off the air with Roman Reigns, hovering over these guys. And again, as I said at the beginning of this recap, I am extremely happy that Bray Wyatt won the belt. I am extremely happy that Roman Reigns is back, even if it's very limited. And again, remember what I said about like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, that I thought, especially this was right around when Bray had, when JoJo gave birth to their child. I said, one person I could see possibly working with Bray exclusively, because Bray is being very cautious with his family, because if you notice, Bray Wyatt really does not interact with anybody when he comes out there other than Braun Strowman. If you notice, other than puppets, Bray Wyatt doesn't come near anybody but Braun Strowman. Now, they did do the ambulance thing last week, but for the most part, he doesn't interact pretty much with anybody. I said Roman Reigns would be the one person, because they both would be extremely cautious for their family, their newborns, their elders. I never thought Roman would return today. But let's see where it goes. This is a huge deal for SmackDown. A huge deal. I don't know if hundreds of thousands of people are going to suddenly start watching TV again, but, they can't have him as a heel. Too many kids out there. Need their John Cena, need their Roman Reigns, need someone, to be that person, that role model they could go to. This is going to attract a younger audience to tune into SmackDown for Roman Reigns. Now we got to see where it goes from here. But he looked to be in phenomenal shape. He didn't miss a beat. And let's see where it goes from here. I'm curious if anything happens at Payback. Maybe that's a little bit too soon, but they have only 2 shows to hype up Payback. I personally would like to see 1 or 2 matches in NXT on Payback. Not sure if that'll happen. So suddenly WWE is very busy, and we're going to get out of here in a couple of minutes. But suddenly WWE is very busy. Retribution, Raw Underground, Thunderdome, Roman Reigns, 2 pay-per-views in 1 week. Title changes. There's a lot going on right now, and we're still in COVID. So as much as you may not have liked WWE, or your enjoyment of WWE has diminished substantially in 2020, there's no denying that WWE is really, really trying to mix it up a little bit. And remember, there's supposed to be a draft later this year. It might be coming sooner than you expect, because there's going to be certain feuds that people are going to want to see. And I saw tonight immediately when we heard Keith Lee's going to be at Raw tomorrow, people like, oh man, I would have loved to see Keith Lee have a little feud with Big E. Well, that could possibly happen in a couple of months. So, there's gonna be some shifts in the roster. Be interesting if we saw Keith Lee on Raw Underground, but I enjoyed the pay-per-view. Under the circumstances, they did a pretty damn good job. Honestly, Thunderdome was my biggest disappointment tonight, especially that soccer noise in the background. They did better tonight with Thunderdome compared to Friday, no question. Putting on the screen, telling people when to cheer and jeer, okay, it's a little forced, but like I said Friday, I have no problem if they were going to do something like that, and they did. But they definitely need this to be in sync of what's going on in the ring. You see Roman Reigns come back. People should have been losing their shit on those screens. Especially, think about this. You're at a Raw, you're at any wrestling event, and you're hanging out with your friends. You even see it with celebrities or athletes from other sports. Soon as the camera goes on them, they start going. People, when the camera's on them, they get all animated. Oh my God, the camera's on me. How is it that these people know that they're being seen on TV and they're not getting animated at all? Even if you're on some type of delay, I would still be animated everywhere possible. And to see Roman Reigns come back and to see people just looking down. One guy was picking his nose did you see that on SummerSlam? One guy, he's trying to act like he's got an itch on his nose, and then for a split second, he goes in there and this and that, and then we don't see his fingers for a couple of minutes. Probably rolling balls underneath. They got to do a better job with that, because the lack of crowd reaction is glaring. And to hear a soccer buzz in the background and Roman Reigns comes back and does all of this, man, that really hurt. That really hurt today. But on a scale of 1 to 10, I give SummerSlam, under the circumstances, I give them an 8. I really do. Favorite match of the night, believe it or not, I got to go with Dominik Mysterio versus Seth Rollins, because it told a great story. Absolutely enjoyed it. Least favorite match of the night, probably Street Profits versus Garza and Andrade, because it's just I would have liked to have seen Andrade and Garza have some type of a run, then have a split because of the run. It just feels like they delayed it just to extend Street Profits' title reign. I want to see where that goes from here. But it was not a bad pay-per-view. I don't judge current product in any promotion based on any other year, because there's so many variables that we don't even see on TV that changes things up dramatically. One thing I can say before I go is I think we all agree that wrestling seems to have improved substantially over the last 30 days. AEW, NXT, Raw, Smackdown, Raw Underground. I'm not enjoying the Retribution storyline for obvious reasons. Like I said, the reveal is what I'm looking forward to more than anything else. But anyway, I'm at the 2-hour mark. I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. We had a very long day today, 3 podcasts today, and then I got another one 24 hours from now. So everybody, when you go, if you enjoyed the show, give it a thumbs up. Definitely it'll help me get recommendations to show up on other people's channels. Maybe some people that don't like me, tell people recommending me this for. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. This way you're alerted when I do some shows. I am going to be uploading shows. We're going to start doing a Q&A. We're going to start taking calls. There's a lot of things that are going to be changing, starting to put the ball in motion. So definitely, right now, almost between Mixler and here, almost 1,600 of you. I wish I didn't have to say goodbye. But this is just the recap for SummerSlam. We did 2 hours. I promise you. Join me Monday night, 11 p.m. We'll talk Raw. We'll get into a whole bunch of other stuff, and we will have loads of fun. So get a good night's sleep. For those living overseas where it's 5 o'clock in the morning, I don't even know if I could tell you to go get some sleep. You might have to take a shower, get ready for work. But I want to thank you all for joining me. And tomorrow, Mini Mug, I will be either solo or probably with Mish of Wrestling Soup. In fact, I did a poll on Twitter. How many of you would like to see a video show Monday night with Mish and myself? And we had 93% of the people saying, hell yeah. So it looks like tomorrow night, Mish and I will both be on video. So come right here. We'll hang out, talk wrestling. I'll pick his brain a little bit about what has transpired the last couple of days in wrestling. We'll talk a little bit more about other topics. And definitely post your feedback here on YouTube. I read them all. I respond to as many as I can. Let me know what you liked about the pay-per-view, what you didn't like. You know, how do you feel about Roman Reigns being back? Do you think this is going to hurt Bray Wyatt's run as champion? Will we see a reveal with Retribution sooner than later? So there's a lot of things going on. And again, you know, if you didn't check it out, I got into AEW Dynamite that aired yesterday. Got into a lot of details. So go check that out in the NXT TakeOver recap. So big day today. How many hours did we do? I mean, we did about 6 hours of shows, 3 podcasts. So I thank you all for tuning in, especially tonight, man. I know a lot of you that are tuning in right now may have never checked out my shows before. Like I said jokingly earlier, maybe some of those other big podcasts out there went to sleep early and you're hanging around here, but I hope you come back. I really do. I bust my ass so you all enjoy it, and trust me, when I see that you all enjoy it, it's the best feeling in the world as far as doing these shows. So everyone have a great night. Post your feedback, and I'll catch you all again Monday night, 11:05 p.m. right after Raw. So ciao, everybody.